drink so much.
You don't need to.
No. I'll have to ask someone.
There's a plant behind it.
I know. Can you imagine? That would be funny, right? That would be like plant abuse. We'd get some vegetarians being like,
We're almost live on Facebook. Give me just another second here. Boom.
Hey, Jennifer.
All right. It's working. And we are live. All right.
nice.
Let's get the chat window going. There we go.
Hello.
Oh, we're already got a bunch of people watching. Check that out.
Nice. All right. Hi, Kyle. Hi, Erin.
All right. Oh, there's Helen
Everybody.
from Baltimore. We've got East Coasters.
East Coast
Sweet.
in the house.
Dinner time.
And the Hewitts are back. Right on. All right. Very cool. Hello from Wine Beach. Wow. Steve and Martha Hewitt saying hello to Guillaume and say hello to Solène and the kids.
Hey, guys.
Right on. That's great. All right, we'll give it a couple more minutes as people are starting to get on and get going here. And then
Pretty cool, the colors on those rosé, huh? I
Yeah.
love it.
A nice little rainbow.
I know. 3 different hues for sure. So I've got a funny story. I went home yesterday after work, and you guys will appreciate this because you have kids, right? So I get home and I'm like, my 4-year-old, well, hey, you cut your hair? And she's like, well, maybe. And I'm like, full on Joe Dirt mullet, just like this and this on both sides, and then cut herself bangs. Because I cut my husband's hair at home, you know, with this whole, you know, all the,
It was her
and
turn.
not believe. There's a pie, like a handful of
Wow.
hair in the trash can.
Well, you've got to wait for it to grow out.
Oh,
So that was interesting.
That's great. Right
Full
on.
charge.
All right. So as we get a few more people joining us, I think we're pretty much good to go. We're about 5 after. So, all right, cool. Let's go. So, hi everyone. Chris from Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance, pasowine.com. Thank you again for joining us for another one of our Zoom Hangouts. It's basically us kind of day drinking on a Friday. And we do have another fun cast of characters to talk. As you can already see, we're kind of already having fun. Funny enough, today's topic, so it's supposed to be about what's happening in the vineyard, what's happening in this month of May, basically, that's happening in the vineyard, maybe even in the cellar a little bit this time of year. But in our call yesterday, everyone wanted to drink rosé, and then everyone wanted to drink each other's rosés. Kind of fun. So we're also sitting here drinking each other's rosés, or well, their rosés, not mine. I wore a pink shirt at least. So we might get into a little bit of that as well in our conversation, which I think is pretty fun. It's so topical, and it's a really warm day out. So for you that are not in California right now, it's about 95-ish or so here in Paso, maybe a little warmer in some other places. I picked these 3 people to talk about vineyards very purposefully because each of them have a different kind of area or of the Paso Robles AVA. So when you look at the Paso AVA, we're about 42 miles wide and about 32 miles north to south. So it's a big area, 614,000 acres, about 41,000 under vine, and 11 different AVAs that exist in our area. And so I wanted to pick a few people who have a good variety of kind of land or area that they may cover and be able to talk about. So who we have today is Molly Scott. She handles all grower relations with Justin Winery. So Justin Winery, of course, has an estate. That's where you're at today, I see. But there's also a lot of vineyards that they either own or at least source fruit from all over our AVA. And so it's going to be an interesting perspective from you, I see, coming up. We have Amanda Wittstrom-Higgins from Ancient Peaks Winery, Santa Margarita Ranch. That's down in the Santa Margarita district, which is our southernmost district up against the Santa Lucia Mountains and those ancient peaks that they're basically named after. Another interesting perspective, maybe it's generally a cooler-ish area than much of the rest of Paso. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that as with Amanda. She's also kind of our local rock star, right, Amanda? I have this.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Girl.
Cover of Wine Enthusiast? What? Am I making you blush?
Yeah, you are.
We love Amanda. We really do. Guillaume Fabre. He is the owner and winemaker of Clos Solène. He's in the Willow Creek district. Guillaume he is a guy around this area in Paso that is known for being a very meticulous farmer and very, very, very into making sure things are just right. And so, and I say that with all the love. These three individuals today are going to be talking about our, like kind of what's happening in the vineyard right now. But I do want to give each of them just a really quick, just for all of you that might be far away and not familiar with some of these brands, I'm going to give them each a minute to talk a little bit about themselves and the brand before we actually get into the topic. So Molly, do you want to kick it off for us?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Pleasure. I came out here to our estate vineyard today because it's mixed emotions, but very nice and quiet on a Friday afternoon. Usually I think folks behind me enjoying some wine tasting. But yeah, I've been with Justin for 8 years now. I'm their director of relations, and the winery was first started by Justin Baldwin and his family with this vineyard actually right behind me, first planted in 1981. So definitely on the forefront of being a pioneer in Paso Robles. We're most known for our Bordeaux blends. You know, we laugh a lot because Justin actually first planted Chardonnay and Pinot here at the estate, and then quickly learned, obviously, that Paso Robles is a little too hot, 90 degrees here right now, and that it really wasn't best suited for the site. So Cabernet Sauvignon it was, and from there we've been making some fantastic Bordeaux blends, and today we're enjoying our Rosé and our Sauvignon Blanc as well. But I'm very proud to be working for this company, and I have a unique role where, yes, we have our own estate vineyards, but we also do a lot of sourcing. So for us, you know, there's 11 sub-AVAs in Paso Robles, and we actually source from all 10 of them. Or I shouldn't say all, but we source from 10 of the 11 sub-AVAs. Amanda, I got to get back down to Santa Margarita Ranch. That's our only one that we haven't tiptoed back to. But sourcing Cabernet Sauvignon from 10 of the 11 sub-AVAs, I've got quite a few stories that we can dive into later. So,
Great.
Cheers.
Thanks. What are we having from Justin today?
Oh yeah, thank you. So I shared with you guys. This is our 2019 rosé. Very proud of our rosé over the years. I've been heavily involved even on the winemaking side. Obviously, I took the sourcing of the grapes, and this is predominantly Syrah based. Actually, with a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon as well. I found great cab vineyard that just was not quite meant to go to full red wine. And so we wanted to try and take it as a cluster press, and it made a really, really nice, a little bit more palatable for food pairing as well for a rosé. But with the growth of the program, Syrahs and natural and Paso Robles as well. So good acid, crisp, clean.
It is.
Yeah, it's very nice. All right. Let's catch Amanda while she was using her spit cup.
How are you?
So I'm Amanda Wittstrom-Higgins, fourth generation from the Paso Robles region, and second generation ownership of the Ancient Peaks Winery. And all of our fruit comes from our state vineyard, which is in the Santa Margarita Ranch AVA, the southern portion of our region, as Chris mentioned. And it's a little bit of a different area. We're about 20 miles south of the city of Paso Robles. And the vineyard sits about 14 miles from the Pacific Ocean. And what's unique is that there's a really wide array of soils on the property. And the vineyard spans almost 5 miles, although it's not contiguously planted. There's quite a bit of open space. In total, we have 14,000 acres, and we have cattle, we've got grapes, we have an agritourism program for zip lining, and we do a bunch of fun stuff. But it's really terrific to be able to share the wines that we create with so many people around the country. And so happy to be here with my friends and neighbors from the region.
Awesome. Cool. And we have your Ancient Peaks
Yes.
Rosé today.
Yeah, so this is 100% Pinot Noir. So 2019, something we make for our direct-to-consumer program. We only make a few hundred cases, but it's something that we all like drinking regularly, so we make sure we produce it every year.
And Pinot represents maybe 5% of what is grown in overall AVA of Paso, of those 41,000 vineyard acres. So it's not a lot.
It's not, but Chris, there's this one section of our vineyard which previously had Bordeaux varietals planted to it, and they wouldn't ripen. And so we've since grafted that area to Pinot Noir because it was just too cool of a climate.
Yeah.
And we're harvesting into mid and late November most years. And so it's just it's a testament to where we are positioned, and the climate is overall cooler than a lot of other places in the region. That's what makes Paso so terrific, is this, a lot of variation and a lot of different things, which is exciting.
Yeah, that's great.
So Guillaume, with Clos, Solène, talk a little bit about yourself and your brand.
Bonjour. Are we doing in French? Or?
Yeah.
If you want.
So I'm Guillaume here, owner winemaker of Clos Solène. We started our brand about 12 years ago. I came with 2 luggage, quite a bit of English in my pockets, just a few words. And here we go, 17 years after, we bought an estate 2 years ago, which we've been very happy. We're in the Willow Creek district. We are mostly rose. We do Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre, that's our core brands. Number 6 generation from France making wine and also growing fruit. So very pleased to be here. Thank you, Chris, for inviting us. I'm excited to talk about viticulture, here today. Just real quick about the rosé. Thank you for doing the marketing for me. I appreciate, Chris. It's named after my wife, Solène. So it's a beautiful rosé. It's just a 2019. Happy to be on this lineup. It's a super light, made with Grenache, Mourvèdre, and Senso. Very Provençal style, the way I was used to make with my dad in France. So I'm very happy to have here. So let's talk about mine. Chris?
Yes. Yeah, let's talk. Actually, so Guillaume, what have you been doing? What have you been up to in the vineyard? Because yesterday you were talking about walking through the vineyard and you were filming a few things. What's going on?
It's growing right now. There's been a lot of heat coming up since a week. So the vine's been very incredibly pushing. And now it's time to, take care of the vineyard. We've been pruning about 3 months ago. And all this pruning session we've done and some, things we left. Now the things pushing, so we try to tend what we left. And so it's been very exciting for us to see, the new growth. Can share a couple of pictures, maybe.
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go. So that's pretty much, right now what is going at Clos Solène. I will see if I can briefly talk about it. That is actually vine. It was planted last year. It's rootstock. So the vine are really now pushing and making nice roots and making good wood. And in the next week or two, we are going to come and pretty much graft over, which means, we are going to insert a bud of Syrah, Grenache, what we want to have. But what's good about this weather today is being hot and it's been pushing nice. What do you think, Molly? I mean, how is it busy for you?
Yeah, no, when I dropped off the wine today, I was so excited to see all that growth on that rootstock. Are you taking cuttings from your existing vines?
Yeah, we took cuttings on some of the vines, and some of the vineyards. So which means we go on blocks we like, vital we like, clones wise. Yeah. We pick the woods, during the dormant season. We put that on the fridge, keep it cool. And now we just actually took it off today, to ready to be grafting on Monday. Yeah.
Nice. That's exciting.
Cool. It's cool. Yeah.
And we're gonna have a little cool down, so that might be nice for the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That'll make it a little easier. So that's for sure. Right on. Molly, you've been busy. I saw an Instagram post of yours where you had a bunch of little samples lined up. You're doing something, checking vineyards and taking samples, testing samples probably from 19.
Yeah, so it has been busy. Something that's pretty unique that we do is we keep every wine lot separate. And that's common practice as best you can, no matter the size of your winery, I would hope. But basically what we do is it's our inventory tasting. So we sit down as a team and taste every individual wine lot and evaluate them. We have a scoring system and we do it all blind. So I was sitting down at my house, our awesome lab team, Sally and Evan collected all the samples and sent me home with 60 samples of 2019 Cabernet Sauvignons that I got to then evaluate and do it blind, which is so nice. So it could be stuff from our own estate, comparing to some of our growers, whether it's from Templeton Gap or Paso, Shandon, San Miguel. And the process is pretty eye-opening. I think 2019 cabs definitely, there's a clear distinguish between when we started getting towards the end of the harvest, and we obviously all dealt with the crop that was across Paso Robles as a whole. But it's pretty exciting what I think is going to be coming forth for that vintage. So yeah, I was tasting our inventory wine lots at home and being safe and doing that in my practice there and sharing notes with our teams to review later.
And so as you've been running around the AVA recently, what are you seeing? I mean, it's obviously it's just that point in time as Guillaume was saying about we're pushing, we're getting a lot of good green grape out. What else are you seeing?
Right, yeah, so it has been busy. It kind of went from everything was dead and asleep and we had a long kind of winter and delayed rains, which we can't complain about. And it was pretty cool. And then poof, everything just
yeah.
I kind of drive around today and I look around and it's kind of like vines are in that like puberty stage and they're all just out and everywhere and they're all immature and coming into their own, and now's the time though we're going to hit it. So a lot of crews are shoot thinning and taking a look at the crop load. We've got full cluster elongation happening.
Tell everybody what that is, cluster elongation.
Yeah, and sorry, is my sound okay? Little echoey?
Little echoey.
I don't know how to.
You're good.
Okay. Sure. So basically after bud break, inside the clusters come out and form. And maybe Amanda probably has a picture, something fabulous in her deck. But basically after that, the cluster starts to elongate. So it's growing out and it's stretching. You know, it obviously will start small, itty bitty, and then it continues to grow. And right now I'm seeing clusters as long. The biggest I saw was kind of around 3 to 4 inches. Ah, thank you.
There it is.
Whew. This is why she's in charge of marketing and everything else. So perfect. So that cluster right there is exactly what I was talking about. So quickly, I would say we're expecting in the next 2, for sure, hopefully by 3 weeks, that cluster should be 100% bloom. And then after bloom, fingers crossed, we've got a good set, and all of those will start to form into tiny little berries.
Cool.
Yeah, I have actually a video of shoot sealing, so if you want to look at it, maybe.
Perfect.
You know, because it's sometimes hard to understand what is shoot sealing. I just took a small clip video. You know, I'm not the best with the technology, but I think I can do it. You know, so that's. Everybody see it? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's what it is. Shoot sealing. So shoot sealing is actually, you know, clipping all the stuff we don't need or excess pushed. We actually take vigor out of what we kept at the pruning, and like that we have all the vigor concentrated into the shoots we selected or spurs at the pruning. So it's crazy to see how much we lose. We decrease the crop of about maybe 50 to 60%. If we were keeping that, you know, we can do, you know, a lot of fruit, but the quality won't be as good. It won't be as, you know, as well balanced for the vine to grow nice enough to have good canopy and just go to a full maturation. You know, you talk about elongation clusters, you can see right there. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool, you know. So it's I love that time of the year.
And it's really, I think it's really important because there are 2 schools of thought. Paso Robles, we've definitely experienced many spring frosts, which have really, you know, you kind of roll the dice. So it's a challenge. There's definitely the ones who want to take care of shoot thinning now and set the vine for its balance and its growth and pretty much the crop that you're going to get. But I don't even want to say the F word of frost. But if we were to have a frost event, it could be incredibly damaging. For instance, you could lose your entire crop if it was cold enough, and all those soft, nice tissues could completely be wiped out, and you could lose your entire yield. So some people will go through and shoot thin after set when it is really vigorous and there's a lot more to pull. You've got to hit that closer to June once bloom is over, and then you're pulling what we call trash. You're pulling all the trash and leaves and extra laterals and pulling all of those shoots out, but you kept it there as an insurance policy, kind of.
Yeah.
So it's tricky.
What do you think, Amanda? I mean, for you at your site, you've been cooler there. You do that much later. How does it work?
Yeah, we're doing it later, and frost is always an issue. For us right now, you know, bud break everywhere, of course. It's, you know, it's interesting looking at the growth in the vineyard that you were showing, which I'm assuming was from today or recently, but we, you know, are quite a bit further behind. You know, we're going through and suffering just as many other people are right now. So it'll be interesting. One thing that we have adapted to when you're talking about frost is the large fans. Because of the scope of our topography, we're able to utilize some fans to displace the air so that we don't have to do pulse emitters or rainbirds for frost protection. What are you using for frost protection, Guillaume?
Yeah, same thing as you do. I mean, like, you know, big wind machine kind of push your hair out. That's actually pretty effective. And, you know, I've been talking a lot to my folks in France because it's becoming an issue there. They get frost every year now. It's becoming a big issue. So now they can really do those wind machines. They do heat movements, try to move, you know, it's crazy, the technology. I think in the next couple of years, we're going to come up with very neat system. and will protect us, much better than today, I think. Yeah.
We actually just installed this fairly advanced for us, temperature gauges on all the frost machines, so that now they're automated from coming on. Previously, they had to be manually started. So we've got, I think it's 21 wind machines on the ranch now, and
Yeah.
huge help, especially for us being in a cooler region, because if you were having to apply water to combat frost, then you're increasing maybe tonnage and foliage, and then pushing out your ripening period. So this utilization over the last couple of years, when we were dealing with the shortage of rainfall, has actually helped us produce a higher quality wine at the end of the day. We're not, because it's a cooler climate, we have to, the volume of tonnage needs to be really balanced with the plant, and to ensure that we get maximum sunlight exposure and airflow. Even though we're farming a fairly sizable area, we can't hang a lot of fruit because we're just going so late into the season.
Now the window just kind of closes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Hey,
absolutely.
Speaking of moisture, rain, and everything else, we got our rain. We had a really fun, good start to the season, right? Early on. And then we just went dry January, dry February. And then the rain machine started back up again in March, and we got a bunch of rain in March. Talk a little bit about, actually, let's start with Amanda. Talk a little bit about for you, that's the same case for you down there as it was for the rest of the AVA up here. What does that mean for the growing season typically?
Well, it's a real blessing. We really need those water supplies to replenish, especially after a series of drought years that we've had. So any rain is pretty terrific. I think that the ryegrass in the field has grown like 6 inches to a foot in the last few days just because of that late season rain. So it really, if you're in the cattle business, which we are, it really saved your rear end with that late season rain. And so we're really thankful for it. I want to show you a picture of, for those of you that aren't in the area, this is our normal, I just drove out to the vineyard a couple hours ago, and this is what we're talking about from a grass perspective. And those are the Ancient Peaks Mountains, which are the namesake. But this is a portion of the Santa Margarita Ranch AVA, and there's a road into our vineyard. From this road right here is actually into our vineyard. But something that's really cool that's happening right now on the ranch, and this was taken a couple of evenings ago, is the wildflowers are just going nuts. This is a wonderful time to visit and see the beautiful wildflowers. So even though we're staying quarantined and at home, we're dealing with wide open spaces on our end. So we're thankful for that. But we didn't have a super bloom this year, but it's still pretty nice.
Yeah, that's great.
No, that
Not too shabby.
So over in the Willow Creek, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say over in the Willow Creek district, when it came to this rain, you're right in that high elevation portion of Paso. And so that orographic lift that happens as storms come across from the Pacific and hit the mountains tends to dump more water in that portion of the AVA. What are you seeing total rainfall right now?
You, Amanda?
I can't remember. I think it's average. I think it was an average year.
20 inches
last year was pretty incredible rainfall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
but I'd have to check the record book, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Guillaume,
I think we got about 18 inches.
Okay.
I'd say we're about 5 miles north of Guillaume, so Chimney Rock Road, and I think our rain gauge 21, 22.
Yeah. Definitely averages for your areas are definitely. typically more than
a new low average.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, yeah, obviously 8-10 years ago, it was 36, 40.
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Wet.
I was going to ask Chris if I may ask this question about you guys. Molly and Amanda, do you see any change on the farming? Have you been changing some stuff lately with how the weather is going? I mean, how do you do? Adjusting with all the vineyard you source from, do you change some stuff a little bit? Or
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. And I think that kind of goes in hand with the rain. So over the years, obviously it's a mixed blessing for farmers. You know, we complain when it's not raining and we complain when it is, because we can either get into the fields or we can't. So I think year over year, we've been pretty spoiled, unfortunately, with just the ground saturated, or sorry, I should say absorbing the rain so quickly that we can get in pretty early with access. So I think the timing of things have been pretty spot on. But you know, you always end up doing one more pass on weeds. You know, here at the estate and on our properties and stuff, these are Pelunk sunflower. So for under the weed vine cultivation and knocking all those out in the berms. And that just takes a beating and always is one more pass than you want to do because it breaks down. But I would say one thing that I've seen most dramatically, so as far as our sourcing, is really over the last 3 to 4 years, so much retraining. So a lot of vineyards about 3 or 4 years ago cut off their cordons and laid new canes. And so now we're kind of coming to year 4 of a lot of those canes coming into maturity. And some people have stayed with cane pruning and others have gone to cordon spur. So it's been kind of neat to watch a lot of 12, 15, 18-year-old vineyards that are kind of going through a different life.
Yeah.
And it's very site specific as to what works and what's you're just kind of band-aiding. And obviously, there's been a lot of redevelopment in the area. So.
And you guys, do you do any type of, you know, to protect for the heat? I mean, we go a little bit further ahead. I mean, we are only in May, but do you work with shade cloth, which is kind of the cloth you put on the front of the clusters to protect the fruit? Maybe different for Amanda. I mean, how does it work with, you know, this heat? Because for Cabernet Sauvignon, as you know, it kind of burns those skin and it's kind of, you know, it's not good for the wine after, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm not a huge advocate of shade cloth.
Hey, great. Yeah.
I feel that if you're involved enough in the beginning and you early enough with your farmer and your team, you should be able to use the canopy that is there in order to manipulate what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And you should know your sun and row orientation, right? And I was just talking about this with one of my growers yesterday. It's really, really challenging to think about meeting in the field today on May 8th. I just had to look at the calendar. And obviously, you're making decisions in May that will absolutely change by the time the sun changes its orientation in July, when you're at veraison and it's going to get totally fried.
Yeah, yeah.
So you need to know your site and you need to know how much you can or can't do. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
We're the same. We have not utilized shade cloth, but we're again not as susceptible to the high degree days as some of the other places. Like you had said, it's kind of site specific, and managing that canopy is so important. But one of the things that we have been doing that's kind of interesting is, because of the wide array of soils that we have on the property, is we're looking forward to getting more results, but we've done 3 test site or an experimentation with 3 different blocks of, or 3 different areas of Cabernet Sauvignon that are in 3 distinct soil types. This really controlled study where we were measuring growth, and then ultimately in this 1,000 plant radius, we were, doing a cross section and of measuring canopy size and growth and clusters and a number of other things, and controlling the irrigation to those to that zone. Just trying to see what impact soil has on the final product, which is, sometimes people love to talk about it, but it's hard to give a definitive answer. And so, being that we're in the, within a few miles, we tried to do this controlled study. So we're getting excited to see what the results are of that. Are you all doing any interesting studies this year, or are you planning to?
What did you do? After drinking rosé?
Let me get back to you. No, I think one thing that we've recently deep dive into is really starting to take the time to correlate. So if our winery is going through all the effort of keeping our wine lots separate, let's start looking at those scores and let's start taking it back to the vineyard and making decisions. So whether it's our own block that maybe messed up or something kind of went off, let's capture that so it doesn't happen again. So we've done a project specifically for 2019 where we are looking at even our sugar sampling analysis to tank analysis to our tasting scores, and thinking about our crop estimates, and really just kind of starting to dive into some cross-eyed data spreadsheets and make sense of something that we can try to figure out how to make it better. So
yeah, I think I was going to say, Amanda, I think it's funny how the difference to farm between more Cabernet sites than Rhone. Rhone is absolutely more forgivable in a way. Syrah, it's a little easier to farm.
Yeah.
Grenache is one of the best vital grows super well in Paso Robles. Let it grow, and it has beautiful clusters, beautiful. Cabernet is difficult. You got to be really careful how to farm. I agree with you. The shake club, this kind of class you put, I tried and I wanted not so salt to it, but some other variety works well, like Grenache, white to keep more freshness. I think it's very site specific, and what varietal is not like black and white.
Right.
But it's cool to try those things. For us, the new things we've been doing, we're more actually. We just planted the estate, so it's a rootstock, which not so many people does it. You come from very, the old ways of planting. You plant a rootstock, you let it roots. It looks like ugly, like I shown. But as soon as you graft, he has much more power because it's all into the soil. There's much more push, and you don't need to push much water, So it's actually very good to keep the water consumption a bit down, because you saw the bigger Molly. It's super vigorous. It's almost too much, when you see it. But my grandfather told me you have to have like a big plants before to graft to age 100 years. And we do the opposite today. Today we plant a very small thing and we want a crop the year after, and we start to diminish the year of aging, So it's a different way to do it. So
yeah. But that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Changes every year.
We have a few questions. One is, Guillaume, in a picture that you were showing, or maybe it was the video, you had some trellising that somebody is wondering, what is that?
Yeah, this one.
Trellising that's near the front of the gate of the estate.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's where that's your
teepee.
Yeah, the teepee.
The teepee, yeah. Okay, so let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I have a few of those. Give me a second, sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe I don't. Oh, here we go. Those ones, right?
Yeah.
So those ones actually, we call that the Échala. Échala style is actually a post. is onto the soil. You know, right now is a rootstock we're going to grab this year. So the Echala style is been, you know, doing a lot in France. You know, I mean, all over the world, I would say. But, you know, I've been from France, so I kind of know of it. And so they do it more on the northern Rhone of, on the slope. It doesn't have too much heat. So you actually help to get maturate a little bit easier because it's very, very narrow vines. And so it's, you know, it's only a few clusters of vine, and they just hold the canopy, you know, as a pear shape, you know, with some type of, it's actually a tie, a special tie, and he hold the canopy around that post. You look cool. And so I've done the same thing here because it was a small block, just to kind of play with it. It's going to be Syrah, and it's going to be great. Yeah.
I remember being at Pierre Gallard's place in Northern Rhone, and is that where you're from? Where are you from?
No, I actually grew up more on the Mediterranean side, you know, Languedoc.
Okay.
Yeah, close to Nice.
Northern Rhone is a special place for anybody who has
absolutely.
That's it's pretty magical up there. The climbing harnesses, and it's just crazy how they farm.
Oh yeah, so steep.
It's so steep. Yeah.
We have a question from Facebook. When you get less rain, what varieties are most compacted?
Oh wow, that's a good question.
Oh, you might have some line on that one.
I mean, obviously, naturally, as the vine strives to be stressed,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a specific variety that's impacted, let alone just the pounds per vine. So the total yield, I would.
Yeah, I think for me, the way I see it is less rain. You know, the vine is pulling from more reserve into the shoots, into the berries. So the canopy is smaller berries, just like you said. So I think everything can be good. It just the protection on the sun. That's what's kind of matters. You know, if you have less canopy, less protect on the sun. So you got to find some ways. Maybe open the canopy up to protect the fruit to make sure it doesn't burn. But you know, everything can handle well, I would say. You know, except Merlot. Merlot needs water, love water. But we don't do much Merlot here. Maybe you do, Amanda, you know, on your spot, which I'm sure is good.
Yeah.
I think if anything, as far as rainfall, there's definitely varieties that will just shut down earlier, right? So sometimes we can see that in Syrah and Merlot, actually, where the canopy crash early, whether that is water stress or actually more so just varietal or virus stress, unfortunately. So you're just maybe not hitting the max bricks that you're hoping to get before picking.
And also here, it was an ocean before, you know, all the salt come up more and it kind of burn the roots a little bit, and the canopy start to decrease as well. I mean, you, Amanda, you've been, you know, what is really history about Ancient Peak? Was it on the same thing on the bottom, the oyster ridge, the wine you make? Is it because, can you explain a little bit?
The name, the reason for the name?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got one of the most interesting soils that we have here is in this petrified seabed, and it's largely these white oyster shells that are almost 100% calcium, and so that would be an interesting study to do. Is what's the effect of or tracking the root system depending on the amount of rainfall in each of the different types of soils, but that is the reason for the name, for the wine's name, Oyster Ridge. And you find that soil profile in a few different places, mostly I think in our area and Atascadero, but there's certainly evidence of uplifted sea life all over. I mean, even where you guys are at, isn't there a few whale bones or sharks that have been found that have petrified? But this really, like, it's almost a reef, like an oyster reef. It's just solid. It almost looks like you poured white flour, and it's, I don't know that we've ever excavated a site where we've gotten to the bottom of it, but it's certainly at least 6 or 8 feet deep, which is as far as
all the marine
tobacco. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's evidence too. Typically, oyster beds are not in very deep water. They're typically
Shallow.
So
It's
at
like 50 feet.
I don't know if you have a picture, Amanda, but it's really interesting when you go there. They're huge. They're massive fossilized shells.
I'll go get one.
And in the landscape that when you're there, you got to imagine now, 70 million years ago, it was a shallow seabed where these oysters could thrive.
Yeah.
That big. I mean, can you imagine what the pearls were like at some point in time? They're like probably like softballs or something. That would be the case there. And then to go further while she's getting one, there it is. Cool. You don't need a picture. You have one.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. This
But
one's
you
kind of
cut it out from
dirty.
your vineyard for everyone
That's
that doesn't
true.
This
get it.
one's a little cleaner. But it's pretty.
And I think it's worth the limestone also. I mean, it start to be born. It's kind of all this calcium bind up. And I think that's cool about Paso Robles. There's a lot of limestone and this shell, which is another type, but it's also really cool to keep those wine very mineral. Which
Yeah,
we can
great.
feel
It's
on all this
wild.
resin.
Too. I mean, obviously, Amanda, from where you're located, but even go northeast to obviously the Creston Highlands AVA, and even north from there, there's absolutely strains of the same seabed that we see through there, and totally calcareous limestone seabed
Yeah,
soil.
really. Yeah.
Growing
Yeah.
Sauv Blanc out there.
I have
That's why the one is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have another question from Facebook. Is the 100-degree plus days in the summer one of the reasons the Paso area produces some of the greatest Syrahs in the world? It's a Syrah question. So we've got, obviously there's going to be also the whole subject about warmer climate Syrah versus cooler climate Syrah, but I guess in this person's opinion, that our Syrahs are the best in the world. So what do you guys have to say about that?
If I can start, I think Syrah it's a different animal in terms of growing. Actually, the leaves, they have doors below the leaves, and they're always open. They always request kind of a moisture. So when it's too hot, it's hard for the vine, because those doors are open and they go in a stress mode. I don't think the 100-degree days make it better. You actually kind of more shut down the vines, so they go sleep a little bit. And actually what's the beauty of Paso is this cool air coming in every day. You actually help to reopen those and develop those beautiful flavors we have in Syrah. I don't know what you think, guys.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, a vine shuts down closer to when it hits 87 to 90 degrees. The stomata close. So it's just like you said, it's going to sleep. There's nothing taking place. And that's actually where we can lose a lot of ripening days. I think it's the diurnal shift and swing when we get and drop down to lovely 60-degree nights that we all stare at the clock for to cool off.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we get our nice breathing break and let the vines kind of respire. And obviously,
Not
A
to
lot,
mark.
a lot of that skin development, which help sugar production balance out with tannin, and then also just simply getting nice and cool at night allows the acid to really settle in as well. So I would say, yes, we get fruit ripe here, but then we have the ability to have very balanced fruit since we have all of the other aspects that make this kind of nice wine, all come together. So.
Yeah.
And the soil.
Yeah, the soil. Good acid. That highly concentrated calcium also tends to make berries a little smaller and a little bit more concentrated, and so that really ends up being kind of an interesting combination of where else you also get that kind of that concentration in acid and tannin. So
yeah.
Hey, we are getting near our time of being done. I know, right? And we barely even tapped.
And so I threw these up.
bottles.
One of my girlfriends texted me saying, "What do the labels look like?"
There they are. But I want to get to really quickly before we sign off. What are you doing yourselves? I know some of you are doing some online tastings and you have other things. Amanda's appearing on the cover of magazines. But what, well, Guillaume, what do you got going on here coming up soon? Do you have an online tasting type of thing, or what's any of those things happening?
Yeah, you know, I mean, here it's all about explaining the story. I mean, like everybody else, I mean, you will say when they go wine taste, but we kind of brainstorm a little bit and we just came up, you know, with virtual tastings. You know, it's like if they were coming at the estate, it's a one-on-one. I actually do a lot of those because it requires a winemaker, so I can take some time and do those also. I like it, I love. And I take them on the mule. I do Zoom, you know, on my phone. I take them on the mule. I did one. Those guys were in Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, and London. It was amazing. They never came to Paso. They were like, here, you know. They say, wow, when can we do it again?
That's great.
Awesome.
How about you, Amanda? What's happening?
You know, we're doing a ton of, you know, trying to bring the experience and the love of our place and our family to the people through video and Zoom and Facebook Live, and, you know, any way we can connect, we try to. I don't have, I'm trying to think of the schedule. Gosh, I think I've done 40 of these like in the last 4 weeks or something. It's, so it's, yeah, but we're luckily, you know, the wine industry is considered essential. So we're still, you know, giving people wines. If they come up curbside, we're happy to load up your car. And so it's busy time, that's for sure. And dealing with mullets at my house. I was like, now it's ponytails and hair clips, because don't cut your hair yourself, people. Don't.
What? I think it comes out all right.
You look pretty
Yeah,
good.
you're good, Chris.
You don't got a lot to work with, though, aside from.
No, I really don't. No. So true. Molly, what's going on with you guys? I think I saw the Justin Baldwin tasting coming up.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr.
Wow.
Baldwin himself. He's going live at 5 o'clock. If you guys want to hop over to Instagram, Justin is hysterical. He actually has the best story. I mean, when someone asks what to pair with the Justin Reserve Cab and he says a double In-N-Out burger, I mean, I love the honesty there. So, yeah.
They are delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, we have our Justin's hopping on tonight in an hour at 5 o'clock on Instagram Live, and he's done a couple of these fun tastings from his home. And yeah, I think they're talking about the Malbec and the Sauv Blanc tonight, and then actually also our Trilateral, which is a GSM blend. But yeah, otherwise we've been getting by like everybody else. So we appreciate people calling in and saying, you know, doing pickup orders, and we hope to have our patio filled one day where we can open our tasting room up again soon when it's welcomed. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when is that, right? Chris, do you know the dates? Oh.
Yeah, let me get right back to you on that. Soon, one of these days soon, but of course we don't want to do it unless we're ready, right?
right.
Yeah, gotta be careful.
Sorry.
So, but cheers, everyone. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
cheers.
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 Mine's empty.
Oh,
Thank you for the wines. Awesome.
Yeah, it
thank
was
you,
so
everyone,
fun. Thank you,
for,
Chris.
yeah, thank you guys so much for that. You know, I'm glad I have some inert gas to put them in, because I'm not going to drink them all today, right?
Oh, see if you can. I mean, what do you have to
Happy
lose?
Mother's Day. Hi, Mom.
Oh, happy Mother's Day. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
To-
happy
to-
Mother's
to-
Day.
To Solène, I hope you guys have a really great weekend. I mean, it's going to be nice weather, so, you know, we'll be celebrating Mom.
Got the inflatable pool ready.
Nice. Good.
Awesome.
And, everyone at home watching on, thank you so much for being a part of this again and joining us. I hope you're enjoying these again, Wednesdays and Fridays, 3 p.m. Same bat channel right here. So look us up. We will be back again next week with some really fun topics, of course. So please visit pasowine.com to see who's coming up next. And I think that's all of it. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, guys. Happy
Thank
Mother's Day.
you.
Cheers.
Okay, bye.
Cheers.
Bye.